Your soulmate saying. My beloved child, your soulmate has reached the moment they were hoping would never come, and the message they are trying to place before you carries more truth than anything they have ever said aloud. Please open this before I give up, they whisper, not because they are giving up on life, but because they no longer know how much longer they can keep pretending that being separated from you does not affect them. For weeks, they have awakened with your presence in their thoughts and fallen asleep with words they were too afraid to send. They have typed messages, erased them, rewritten them, and stared at your name until the screen went dark. Something happened recently that forced them to confront what they had been avoiding. No distraction, no distance, and no carefully constructed excuse could remove what they feel for you. Stay till the end, because the final truth behind this message is connected to a decision they made only hours ago. They tried to convince themselves that silence was the mature choice. They told themselves that perhaps you had moved forward, perhaps you had forgotten, or perhaps the connection had only felt extraordinary to them. But then they discovered something about you, something small that carried an enormous meaning. It may have been a sentence you once said, a promise you quietly kept, or an act of kindness you never expected them to remember. That one detail shattered the story they had been telling themselves. It proved that what existed between you was not imaginary, temporary, or one-sided. And now, your soulmate is looking back at every moment when they should have spoken honestly but chose fear instead. They remember the exact instant your eyes met differently. They remember the conversation that lasted longer than either of you expected. They remember the strange peace they felt around you, as though they had finally arrived somewhere their heart already recognized. But what they remember most is the moment they pulled away. They thought distance would protect both of you. Instead, it created a silence that has become impossible for them to carry. What you do not know is that your soulmate recently heard your name during a conversation that was never supposed to involve you, and the reaction inside them was immediate. Their entire expression changed. Someone noticed. Someone asked why your name still had that effect on them, and for the first time, your soulmate could not deny it. They did not laugh it away. They did not change the subject. They simply became quiet, because the truth was standing too close to hide from. That conversation continued, and a revelation emerged that your soulmate was completely unprepared to hear. They learned that you may have misunderstood their silence. They discovered that you may have interpreted their distance as rejection, when in reality, they had stepped away because their feelings had become stronger than they knew how to handle. This realization affected them deeply. They suddenly saw the entire situation from your side. The unanswered questions, the mixed signals, the warmth followed by withdrawal. They understood how confusing their behavior must have appeared, and that understanding filled them with regret. Don't skip, because there is another person connected to this moment, and what this person revealed changed your soulmate's next move completely. This person told them that waiting too long can turn an unfinished love story into a permanent question. They told your soulmate that pride often disguises itself as patience, and fear often pretends to be timing. Those words remained with them long after the conversation ended. Your soulmate went home, sat alone, and opened something connected to you, an old message, a photograph, a saved note, or a memory they had hidden away because it carried too much emotion. The instant they saw it, the walls they had carefully built began to collapse. They realized they were not protecting their heart. They were slowly losing the person their heart had been trying to find. That is when they began writing the message you are hearing now. But halfway through, they stopped. Their hands became still because they knew that once this truth reached you, nothing between you could remain ordinary again. Your soulmate's greatest secret is not that they miss you. It is that they have been quietly comparing every connection, every conversation, and every possible future to the way they felt with you. And nothing has come close. They tried to move through their days as though you were simply someone from an unfinished chapter, but your presence kept appearing in the most unexpected ways. A familiar phrase reminded them of your voice. A certain place brought back the feeling of standing beside you. Even ordinary moments carried the question they could no longer ignore: what would this feel like if you were here? Something huge is waiting for you, because your soulmate has now admitted to themselves that they were not afraid of losing their freedom, they were afraid of losing control of their emotions. Loving you felt different from everything they had known. It was not loud or forced. It felt natural, and that frightened them more than uncertainty ever could. They knew you could see beyond the version of themselves they showed to everyone else. You noticed the pauses in their voice. You understood what they meant even when they struggled to explain it. Around you, they could not hide behind charm, confidence, or carefully chosen words. You made them feel seen, and being truly seen created both comfort and fear. So they stepped back, expecting the feelings to weaken. Instead, the silence made everything clearer. Your soulmate now knows that distance did not erase the bond, it exposed its depth. And there is one more shocking truth. They have already prepared themselves to make a move toward you. They have rehearsed what they will say. They have imagined every possible response. They have considered the chance that you may no longer trust them, and they know they cannot demand that trust back. But they are willing to explain everything. They are willing to admit where they were wrong. They are willing to stop hiding behind vague words and finally tell you exactly what happened inside their heart when they walked away. Now comes the part they were almost too afraid to reveal. Your soulmate is not asking you to rescue them, chase them, or forget everything that caused confusion. They are asking for one honest moment before they stop trying to reach you. Their words are simple, but the meaning behind them is enormous. Please open this before I give up on believing that you still want to hear the truth. They are standing at the edge of a once-in-a-lifetime decision. On one side is the familiar safety of silence. On the other side is the possibility of a future where they finally choose courage over fear. And only recently, they discovered that you may have been waiting for clarity too. That is the revelation that changed everything. A detail reached them, perhaps through someone who knows both of you, perhaps through something you unknowingly expressed, that suggested your feelings were never as absent as they assumed. The possibility that you still care has awakened something powerful inside them. But it has also made this moment more urgent, because they know misunderstandings grow stronger when nobody speaks. Your soulmate has decided that they cannot allow another day to pass while you believe a story that was never true. They never stopped caring. They never replaced what they felt. They never forgot the way your connection changed them. The silence was not emptiness, it was fear. The distance was not indifference, it was confusion. And the message they are preparing contains a confession that could change the direction of both your lives. They are about to explain why they disappeared when they wanted to come closer, why they remained quiet when they had so much to say, and why your name is still the one name that makes every defense inside them fall away. Stay till the end, because what they reveal next is not only about the past. It is about the promise they quietly made after realizing they could truly lose you, and the unexpected action they are now ready to take before the door between you closes forever. The message your soulmate almost deleted begins with a confession they have never allowed themselves to say clearly: I did not walk away because I felt nothing. I walked away because what I felt was becoming impossible to hide. For a long time, they believed that controlling their emotions was the same as protecting their future. They thought that if they remained silent, kept their distance, and acted unaffected, the connection would eventually become easier to forget. But every attempt to suppress it only made the truth more powerful. They began noticing how deeply you had entered their ordinary life. Your words returned to them during quiet drives. Your expression appeared in their thoughts when they heard certain songs. Your kindness became the standard by which they measured every person who approached them afterward. And then something happened that they could not explain away. They found themselves standing in a familiar place connected to you, surrounded by people, yet feeling completely alone because you were not there. In that moment, they understood that missing you was no longer a temporary emotion. It had become an answer. They finally admitted that they were not searching for another connection. They were searching for the feeling they had already found with you. Don't skip, because the next part of their confession reveals why they suddenly believe time is running out. Someone recently asked them a simple question: what will you do if this person stops waiting forever? Your soulmate tried to respond calmly, but the question struck the place they had been avoiding. They imagined you closing the chapter, choosing peace, and giving your heart to a future that no longer included them. That image unsettled them more than they expected. For the first time, they saw that silence was not keeping the connection safe. Silence was slowly surrendering it. They went back through every memory, searching for the moment when things changed, and they realized there had not been one single mistake. There had been many small moments of hesitation. Messages left unfinished, feelings hidden beneath casual words, opportunities ignored because they assumed there would always be another chance. Now they understand that another chance is never guaranteed, and that is why their message carries such urgency. They are not trying to create pressure. They are trying to reach you before the misunderstanding becomes the ending. But there is another truth your soulmate has kept hidden, and it explains why their behavior became so confusing when the connection grew stronger. Before meeting you, they had trained themselves not to depend emotionally on anyone. They had seen promises change, watched closeness become distance, and learned to leave before they could be left. Then you entered their life and disrupted every rule they had created. You did not force your way into their heart. You simply became important without trying. Your presence felt safe, but that safety frightened them because it gave them something real to lose. They began testing the connection without realizing it. They became quieter to see whether you would notice. They delayed responses to see whether you would remain. They hid their vulnerability to discover whether you cared about the person beneath the surface. And when you responded with patience, sincerity, or understanding, instead of feeling relieved, they became even more afraid. Your consistency made the connection undeniable. They could no longer dismiss you as a passing emotion. Stay till the end, because they now regret those tests more than anything else. They know you may have interpreted them as disinterest. They know their silence may have made you question your own intuition. They know there were moments when you offered warmth and received uncertainty in return. The truth is that your soulmate noticed every effort you made. They remembered every thoughtful word. They recognized every time you tried to create peace between you. They were simply too emotionally guarded to meet your honesty with their own. Now, looking back, they see how much strength it must have taken for you to remain genuine while they remained unclear. That realization is one reason they are finally ready to speak. They do not want you carrying the false belief that you were not valued. You mattered more than they knew how to express. Your opinion mattered. Your presence mattered. Even your silence mattered, because whenever you became distant, they felt the absence immediately. They may have appeared composed, but internally they were wondering whether they had finally pushed you too far. The shocking part is that they nearly reached out many times. They opened your conversation, typed the first sentence, and stopped because they feared that one honest message would expose every feeling they had spent months trying to conceal. Something changed last night. Your soulmate saw or heard something that made them realize you may be preparing to move forward without them. It was not necessarily a dramatic announcement. It may have been a subtle sign. A different energy in your words, a new confidence in your presence, or the absence of the attention they once quietly depended on. But they felt it. They recognized that you were no longer standing in the same emotional place, waiting for answers that never arrived. Instead of feeling relieved, they felt the full weight of what their silence had cost. That was the moment they stopped pretending. They sat alone and asked themselves the question they had avoided for too long. If I never tell this person the truth, will I be able to live peacefully with that choice? The answer came immediately. No. They could accept rejection more easily than lifelong uncertainty. They could accept an honest boundary more easily than wondering whether both of you lost something extraordinary because neither person spoke at the right time. Something huge is waiting for you, because your soulmate then made a private decision. They decided that their next approach would be completely different from anything they had done before. No vague hints. No half-finished conversations. No disappearing after showing emotion. They want to come forward with clarity. They want to tell you what they felt when they first realized you were different. They want to explain the moment fear took control. They want to acknowledge the confusion they created without making excuses. Most importantly, they want to ask whether there is still a path forward, not back to the old uncertainty, but towards something honest, stable, and mutual. Yet there is one detail making them hesitate at the final moment. They heard that you may believe their feelings were never serious. That belief affected them deeply because it is the opposite of the truth. Their feelings were so serious that they panicked. They became afraid of making promises they might fail to keep, afraid of opening a future they could not fully control, and afraid that you would see every vulnerable part of them and decide they were not enough. They now understand that by trying to avoid being hurt, they may have hurt the one person they most wanted to protect. Your soulmate's message ends this chapter with words they have rehearsed repeatedly. I cannot continue hiding behind silence and expecting you to understand what I never had the courage to explain. They know that one confession cannot erase every unanswered question. They know trust is rebuilt through consistency, not emotional words alone. That is why they have prepared more than a message. They have prepared a choice. If you allow the conversation to happen, they intend to show you a side of themselves that they have hidden from almost everyone. They want to reveal what they were dealing with when they withdrew, what they were told about you, and why they once believed staying away was the kindest thing they could do. But that belief has now been shattered by a discovery they never expected. The person who influenced their decision to step back did not know the full truth. Your soulmate recently learned that an important detail had been misunderstood, exaggerated, or completely left out. That missing detail changes the meaning of everything. It suggests that both of you may have spent months reacting to assumptions rather than reality. Your soulmate is stunned because they now see that the separation may never have been necessary. The distance, the confusion, and the sleepless nights may have grown from one incomplete story. And the person who revealed this truth did so accidentally, without realizing how deeply it would affect them. Now your soulmate is connecting every piece, and the pattern is becoming clear. You did not abandon the bond. You were protecting your dignity. You did not stop caring. You stopped chasing clarity from someone who would not provide it. And your soulmate finally understands the difference. Don't skip, because what comes next is the most unexpected part of the entire message. They are preparing to tell you exactly who created the misunderstanding, what was said behind your back, and why that person suddenly changed their story. But even more surprising is the promise your soulmate made after discovering the truth. They promised themselves that they would never again allow another person's opinion, fear, or incomplete information to decide what happens between you. They are ready to listen directly to you. They are ready to answer every question. And before they send the final confession, they are waiting for one sign that the door is not completely closed. The sign your soulmate is waiting for is not a dramatic declaration, and it is not a promise that everything will immediately return to the way it once felt. They are hoping for something much smaller, but far more meaningful, a moment that tells them you are willing to hear the complete truth before making your final decision. What they do not realize is that you may have already given them that sign without saying a single word. Your recent silence has not felt cold to them. It has felt different. It has carried the energy of someone who has stopped begging to be understood and has begun protecting their own peace. That change has shaken your soulmate because they can sense that your heart is no longer standing still. You are becoming stronger. You are seeing your own value more clearly. And for the first time, they understand that access to you is not something they can assume will always remain available. This realization has forced them to examine the way they treated the connection. They remember moments when you were emotionally present while they remained guarded. They remember times when you offered clarity and they answered with hesitation. They remember how often they relied on your patience without ever asking what that patience was costing you. Now the truth is reaching them all at once. You were not asking for perfection. You were asking for honesty. You were not demanding that they know the entire future. You were asking them to stop making you question whether the connection was real. And the answer they should have given you long ago is the answer they are finally preparing to reveal now: yes, it was real to them. More real than they admitted. More powerful than they expected. More important than they were ready to handle. Stay till the end, because your soulmate has uncovered something that proves you were never the reason they withdrew. The real reason was connected to a fear they carried from long before you entered their life. They believed that whenever something became emotionally important, it would eventually be taken away. So when their feelings for you deepened, they began preparing for an ending that had not even happened. They mistook fear for intuition. They treated possibility like certainty. And by trying to escape future pain, they created the very distance they were afraid of.